Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sun. Sun is back. And I mean that figuratively as well as literally, right? So, Sustainable Urban Network is kicking off season 4 with a candidate, Councilmember Pro Tem Monica Montgomery Steppe, who is on the cusp of history as the first Black woman to seat at the County Board of Supervisors for the County of San Diego. The sun is back literally. According to Associate Press and the University of Maine, who has the heat wave tracker, that globally we have reached the hottest days for summer 2023. You guys, please protect yourself. I want to make sure you cover your skin, your face, and stay cool. And we're ready for Sun, Sustainable Urban Network.
Walk the talk if you official, proceed to run. 2020, inequity, wait a time. Sustainable Urban Network. Justice is on earth. Sustainable Urban Network. Justice is on earth.
All right. So welcome again, everyone, to Sun, Sustainable Urban Network. Happy Sun Saturday. We appreciate you tuning in because we realize you can be anywhere. Our discussions on Sustainable Urban Network are for everyone, all generations, from the silent generation to Gen Z and everything in between. Please subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with the word on the street on this race and on other important matters that we will cover here on Sustainable Urban Network. Again, thanks for tuning in. We believe that together we can address our issues in our community to help improve the quality of our lives. We discuss topics addressing racial, social, economic justice, and equity through the lens of environmental and climate justice. We believe in working together and that our guests are and their experiences, and together we believe that we can have a sustainable lifestyle and we can scale up our neighborhoods. So, to start our show, we want to make sure we have our reflection, and our reflection will share our sun enlightenments. So, today's reflection is a quote, and the quote is stated as such that with, the quote states as such: what the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise. And that is by Barbara Jordan, who was the first Black elected Texas senator and the first Southern Black woman to the United States Representatives. And our sun enlightenments are: 1, be responsible with your resources. 2, take the state of your social, racial, and climate justice seriously. 3, don't wait for others, do your part. And 4, when you do, give it your best and from a loving effort. So what's the hot news today is August 15th. August 15th, 2023, we have a special election here in the County of San Diego for the District 4 Supervisor. The latest news is that you need to get out and vote. And if you can't vote, you can support this candidate who is the most qualified, and we'll get into her qualifications really soon. So, Councilmember Pro Tem Monica Montgomery Steppe is here also with our community leaders, our community pillars, showing support for this candidate and why this race is so important. As a PSA, public service announcement, you can walk, you can also phone bank for this candidate. And to do such, as a call to action, go to Monica, numeric number 4, San Diego.com. So again, our topic is history in the making, the next County Board of Supervisor special election, August 15th. And so we're going to get into this topic real soon.
And I rise like the day. Again.
All right. Yes. So our community leader that we have here, Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe, she has risen through her community and she is serving to allow our community to rise up. She is a voice of the people. So, as a quick introduction, Council Member Pro Tem Monica Montgomery Steppe is the third ranking elected official for the city of San Diego with that has a budget of nearly $5 billion. We also have Dr. Afflalo, family physician who serves formerly as vice chair and current member of the County San Diego's Health Services Advisory Board. In addition, we have Pastor McKinney, who is a community leader and pastors St. Stephen's Cathedral Church of God in Christ that was founded in 1962 by his legendary father, Bishop McKinney. In addition, we have Dr. Luana, who is a researcher and doctor of education at UCSD. She's the founder of the Afrofuturism Lounge, which is featured at Comic-Con and is a framework for social action and development. And last and certainly not least, we have Brother Dahan Blevins. He is a commissioner of the City of San Diego's Art and Culture. He's the founder and CEO of Urban Warriors and curator of Kumbah Fest San Diego. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. So, I understand there's a special election for the San Diego County District 4 Board of Supervisors. Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe, Pro Tem, can you please let our listeners know when is the election, who can vote, and where they can vote? Let's just start there.
All good questions. The election really is now because it's a mail-in election. So everyone that can vote in the supervisorial district, which is from Claremont all the way over to East County, some of the unincorporated areas like Mount Helix and Casa de Oro and Spring Valley, you can vote now. And then you have until August 15th to vote. And if you are not registered to vote, even though the deadline is passed, you can register and then cast your vote provisionally. So on the website, Monica, the number 4, sandiego.com, we do have a page that's dedicated to how to vote, where the drop boxes are, how to mail it in, instructions. If you want to go up to the registrar of voters and just cast your vote there, there are so many options now. And, I know it's a struggle, but these things are laid out before us. Voting has really never been easier. And this is the only thing on the ballot. So you don't have to do any research for any propositions, any measures. You don't have to feel guilty because you don't know what it is. It's one race. And this is the supervisor's race for District 4 in the county.
That is an excellent point. Like you said, there's no propositions, no ballot measures. It's only this specific special election to fill District 4 County Board of Supervisors. So I think our listeners want to know more about you. I mean, I think you dope, you fresh, you fly, right? And everyone on here, feel the same way, but many people don't know, right? So considering that, I like to ask you if you could answer this question holistically, both personally and professionally. Who is Monica Montgomery Steppe? Would you share your educational background? Because I think a lot of people don't know your educational level as well. Your faith and belief, if you feel like that's appropriate and applicable, which I know it is, and your values.
Yeah. So, I grew up as a church girl. My family, my grandmother was the youngest of 13. They came here to San Diego from Mississippi. My dad's family came from Texas. Well, actually, just him. His family stayed in Texas. He's in the military, in the Marines, and so he landed out.
My dad Marine too.
Yeah. So you know how I was raised.
Right, exactly. It ain't no joke. Trust me.
Very strict, but very loving household. So I had a lot of love that helped me to understand and have an identity, growing up. so that was very, very important. But I went to Spelman College for college. So I went to HBCU. I got a Morehouse brother on here too. And that also really shaped me in a lot of different ways. One is coming from San Diego, where, what is our percentage? I don't know what our percentage of Black folks was then, but I know it, right? And it's a lower percentage. And then we're kind of all spread out, which I'm glad that we have the freedom to live where we want to live, right? So, I love that, but it does make it a little bit harder to create community, but I had the experience in Atlanta of really being in the Mecca, being right where the civil rights movement happened, and just kind of feeling that responsibility that I had, at Spelman College and in Atlanta. I had never felt like that before, just for that type of history to be all around me and to really have an impact on the way that I wanted to live life and what I wanted to do. So Spelman, I graduated with a degree in political science, but while I was in college, I got really sick with an autoimmune illness. And I had to come back home. My mom had to take care of me. We had to apply for county resources. And yes, those are, that's my line. My mom had to take care of me. We had to apply for county resources. But my brother had to bring me to the airport from Atlanta. I was in a wheelchair. He had to help me get up and help me sit down. And, it was devastating for a 20-year-old that had their whole lives ahead of them. I was not going to come back to San Diego, y'all. I wasn't going to do it, to go through that. And I talked about identity in the beginning. Well, that was an identity crisis because now at 20, and it impacted my skin and muscles. And I was on steroids. So my face was very bloated. I had, the skin issues, just, those things that are very, very important throughout our lives, but, particularly when we're young. So I experienced a bit of depression. My family was there, and I always had a strong faith. Like I had no idea what was going on in my life. I had no idea what God was doing. But I knew that I was supposed to live, and I was supposed to live for a reason. I knew that, and I operated in that even when I didn't realize that's what I was operating in, because I just was too young to understand. Right. So all that to say, college taught me a lot. It taught me a lot professionally. It taught me a lot historically, but it taught me a lot personally about who I am, like how much I can endure as a person, what is this life really about? It taught me not to judge people because people were judging me because of how I looked, so all of those things are part of, I put it into how I lead. I hope, I strive to lead with grace and love, even in a dirty, nasty political world.
All right. And
so and without that experience, I just don't think that I would lead in that same way. So although I would not wish that on anyone at all, especially someone that's 20, it changed, it deepened my understanding of how precious life is and how precious we all are, and how we have to love one another because we have no idea what another person is going through. So that really shaped, my professional career. I've always just found myself in a position where I was very unassumingly fighting in a legal way for people, because I believe in the power of the pen. Right?
You talk about that because you shared you had a poli-sci degree, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment. But you got even more advanced degrees than that. And I think that's one aspect, especially when you said how you're fighting for people legally. Can you just touch on that real briefly? And you did a great job giving us your background.
Yeah, no problem. I went to law school, California Western School of Law, when I came back home from Spelman College. Like I said, I wanted to be in Atlanta, but that's not what God had for me. So I finished Spelman, but I began law school here in San Diego, and I was still maintaining, figuring out how to deal with the autoimmune illness and still live a life. I was doing all that during law school. So I went on a quarterly basis to law school. But I finished and passed the bar and practiced law, and then ended up in politics. Here we are.
Here we are. So that's a great tell into my next question is why did you decide to run for office prior to your first political race? What was it that motivated you to run for political office in order to serve people? And also, what is your previous and current experience that makes you prepared on day one to be a county supervisor?
So when I first ran for office, I lost miserably. So, that was a great lesson that, you may have the heart and desire, but you still have to learn the craft, learn, the process, learn, what it takes you have to raise money. You have to have name ID, you have to get your name out there. So you can be smart and think you're great, but everyone else has to know who you are, right? So that was really what the first race taught me, although it was a great lesson and I learned and met people along the way. If it wasn't for that first race that I lost horribly, I would not have been able to work at City Hall and begin to understand how things actually work for my community, right? Without that experience, I don't think I would have been able to be quite as effective. So so that was the first time I ran. And I ran because, at that time I had interned for Tony Young, he was the council president when I interned for him, and I was in law school. So I really began then a love, not for campaigning. I don't like campaigning as much, but I love government because that's like where you can get the resources and you can make things sustainable for your communities. And it's not a one and done. You can really cement things into the system that impact positively all people, but especially our most vulnerable people. So I ran because it was an open seat, and I figured out in my internship that I really had a love for that. And so I ran, but I came in last. It was like 9 of us and I was number 9. So but from there I still had that desire to serve. So then I went on to work for in City Hall for 3 different elected officials, and ran for different reasons in 2016, but that's part of the story.
Yes, great. Thank you so much. And I mean, I think anyone who knows you on almost any array or degree knows that you definitely have a heart to serve. And your heart to serve is the people. And I want to say thank you. That's not the case for everyone. So we appreciate that. So now that we talked about your experience in City Hall and even your current role at City Hall, I like to ask if you could provide us some context, on your experience as chair and vice chair of the City of San Diego's Public Safety Committee and the Public Security Committee with MTS, which is the city's transportation for those that are not from San Diego. Can you share some important decisions that you've approved and passed as leader during your tenure of our Public Safety Committee?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of to segue from the last question a bit, you asked me a question that I didn't answer, and that is what qualifies you to hit the ground running on day one?
Right.
And it really is, well, it's quite a few things. but we talked about the professionally and personally. I do believe that the unique lens that I have of being on the other side of services, having to apply for services from the county, gives me a very, very unique lens when I am sitting in that seat as to how we can provide the resources with dignity for the people that need them. That's very, very important to me. But the experience of learning and understanding bureaucracy, I just have to say, a lot of folks think they can do it and have never done it, and we don't want, we'd rather have a surgeon that's had some years of experience, right? And when I met with the Carpenters Union, I told them, I'm not an apprentice, I'm a journeyman. That's what I know, the craft. I know.
Look at Dawn.
So, and they like that. I grew up in construction, my dad, so but it's very, very important. And some of the issues that we're seeing now, I'm thinking through about this as I go through this campaign, even nationally, people want to feel good. With Trump, they just like the fact that he can be a racist out loud and make them feel good. He has no government experience, as we can see. And it's the same thing going on in this race. I can't, listen, bureaucracy is hard. There are layers and there are levels to it. You have to understand how to work through it. If we're ever going to have anything, especially in this city and in this county, in this region, you have to understand that system. Now, there are many parts of the system that need to be changed. Don't get me wrong. But how do you change something you don't know? And so that's what makes me, that's what helped me make this decision. Because you all know me and understand that District 4 is City Council, District 4 is my heart. And I just got through a re-election, and there's a lot of good things going on. And it was a really hard decision for me, because I want to still be able to see those things through, which is still possible. But it wasn't just about me just going to a higher office because that's what Monica wants to do. But when we look at what we have before us and the things that have to be done, and especially,
can you give a couple examples of the things that need to be done?
The county, it deals with the $8.1 billion budget.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to probably talk about health disparities later. We are talking about housing and homelessness. We have many crises in the county and in the region right now. And I'm the only one that, in this group that has any type of experience to tackle any of those issues in a way that will be effective. I truly believe everybody wants to do the right thing. It's just that desire versus the skill. That's where the difference is in this. And that's why I ended up going for this. Because, it's very important. And we really didn't think we would be here now. We're here now because of a scandal.
Right.
This was not supposed to happen this early, but it did. And so we're here. But yes, we have many different issues that we have to tackle. And I believe that I'm, on day one, that I'm ready to begin that work, because of some of the things that I've been able to do so far at the city. That role as chair of public safety within the city of San Diego, but also chair of the public security committee over at the Metropolitan Transit System, changing that system a bit. We really try to balance really making it more safe with the fact that people of color are profiled, and also people who are homeless that, are on the line, ride the trolley or near. Oftentimes when they get tickets, they have lingering, it lingers on their credit if they can't pay it. So then when they are able to get housing, they're dealing with this ticket, right? So yes, oftentimes it's when people who are unhoused are on the trolley in whatever condition that they're in, a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And some of it, we understand there has to be a balance. We all want clean streets, all of us. We don't feel people should live in tents, right? But we have to make sure we understand there's some people that don't have another place to go. And I think it's our responsibility to make sure that they have an option. Now, if they don't choose the option, then we can have another conversation. But right now, expanding shelter capacity and increasing affordable housing are paramount to being able to enforce these laws to make sure that people don't have to sleep on the street.
Right.
So all of that to say, I'm ready to go. And I'm just hopeful that we get this opportunity.
Yes, we are very hopeful that you get this opportunity too. And based on that, I think I want to hear from some of our community leader guests on that as well. And I'm going to start with Dr. Afflalo. And I'm going to ask you, just in general, like what are some of your top important aspects that you would like to see at the County Board of Supervisors? And what do you think is important to District 4 constituents as you have been boots on the ground, Dr. Afflalo, addressing health equity? And so my question to you is, what are some improved health outcomes you would like to see at the county? And how can county leadership help to eliminate disparities with the quality of our health care?
Sonja, thank you for that question. That's a power-packed one, but definitely important. I would just say that access, which seems like just a throwaway term, but access to quality healthcare is important. And Fourth District has a couple of beautiful, federally qualified clinics, but they don't serve everyone in the same capacity. People do not feel like they're treated with respect when they go into one of those two, San Ysidro Health and Family Health Centers. And therefore, there's nowhere in that community that you can go. But the biggest thing I would say, and treating everyone there, obviously they're supposed to take everyone in because they get federal dollars. They're supposed to take in the uninsured, the underinsured, the underrepresented, the unhoused. They're supposed to take everyone, but I promise you that's not how it's really run. And so to get turned away from there, where do they go? And my other biggest thing is really about, I've been fighting and Councilwoman Monica knows that we're trying to fight to get urgent care in that community. I don't even think the community understands that they don't have one because they're so accustomed to over the decades of packing up their sick kid or their grandmother or whoever and getting a trolley or an Uber or a friend to take them outside of their community. To Grossmont, to Hillcrest at Scripps or UCSD Health and that sort of thing, anywhere else but in the Fourth District to get services. And so if you have a baby that's 4 years old that has a fever, you can't wait. And to go all the way up to Children's is not right, but we have no services available after 5 o'clock. The two clinics that are in the local area, there's a few private things, but they're few and far between now because they've shut down or they've been sold out to the two federally qualified clinics. So we don't have a lot of private practices in there anymore like we used to a couple of decades ago. So we don't have a lot of choices and all doors close around 5 o'clock. So if you're sick after 5, you've got to go outside of your community, at least, 10, 15 miles out and heaven forbid, you're on public transportation. How do you get there? You don't have money to take an Uber. So you end up just staying sick. And the problem is that most of our people in fourth district tend to be on the top of the list for highest, with blood pressure out of control, diabetes out of control. Of course, they're on dialysis. If you go into any dialysis unit, it's Black and brown people only for the most part. Health, just health, heart health issues, things like that. And so the problem is that if we don't have access to anything after 5 and they don't have anywhere of getting anywhere, they just stay sick until it gets to a point where it's past being able to really help them. And now you're in a crisis. So if we don't get access to healthcare at any time, open to everyone, then we've missed the mark. And I happen to say that, I grew up in Los Angeles, and most major urban cities have county hospitals, and we don't have one. So I feel like the county is not in the business of health, to be honest with you. They sold it out to, UCSD, and UCSD is not one for really taking care of the folks that are down there. They put in express clinics and everything all over the place, but they won't put up one in there. So, I am fighting the battle to get them to do the right thing, but the county needs to do the right thing. They need to, if they're not going to open up a hospital or something, they're going to need to fund the urgent care that's in that area, so we can take care of our families in the evenings and on the weekends, so they don't have to leave because they're on public transportation. They can walk down the street or whatever and be able to, or one little trolley ride, a stop or two to get to an urgent care that will welcome them, that's culturally appropriate and sensitive to them, and to take in our own house. So what if they smell? Then maybe we should have a little shower over there so they can take a shower before we see them. We need wraparound services. And the beautiful Livable Center, I had a tour of it before Nick moved over to UCSD Health. And he promised me that he's going to continue this ball, carry that baton over there to UCSD Health to help us get this urgent care in Southeast San Diego. But I wanted to put the urgent care in that facility. Why can't we open it and put it there? It's right by the trolley. It's right by 2 bus stops. Why can't we just have it in the evenings and the weekends? Right. I didn't get a good answer because they said it, but those clinic offices are not going to be used in the evening. All they have to do is give us, security for the evenings and let us go ahead and run it. I'll get some folks in there to run it, but I haven't given up on that idea. But in the meantime, we're trying to find other places. But before I'm taking off this earth, I'm going to make sure we have an urgent care in 4th district so that we can serve the needs. It's going to take a lot of marketing because the community doesn't even realize what they don't have. Right. So we'll have to tell them what we have, how to use it, and then to make sure they don't wait until they're dying before they come over there. Okay, so that's my spiel on health disparities, and I'm hoping that Supervisor Monica will help us in the 4th district to help us get this done. Thank you for putting that on your list.
I got my notes.
Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
knew about the urgent care and but all of the things. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Dr. Afflalo, thank you so much for being that chief health advocate for us, for our community, that you don't waver. And I salute you and I honor you for that. And just thank you so much because you're.
And I do want to make one comment. I do have to say that the county did step up to the plate. We had to force them, but they stepped up to the plate when we wanted testing in the community for COVID and we wanted vaccinations in there. They did set up, Dr. Hood and myself and a few other people to force them to get testing right there in front of Careview, close to the trolley, and then over at Tubman Chavez for testing and then for vaccination. So we put their feet to the fire and made them do the right thing, and it helped our community. And then when we opened it up for no appointments, all kind of folks that don't look like us from different communities came down to get access to their same-day testing and then vaccination. So, we understand, but I have to give them props. They did, without a lot of pushback. We just say, hey, it's not fair. Everybody else, every other community has it. Why do we have to go outside? Why do we have to go to PetSmart, I'm sorry, Petco, down there downtown, take a trolley and a bus to go down and get in line, drive through to get a vaccine. It didn't make sense, right? And I took my 94-year-old neighbor down there. We waited 2 hours in line. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. So that's why we said this isn't going to work. That's great for the folks up in Del Mar and whatever, but we don't have the resources to do that. Bring it to our community so we don't have to leave. And they did respond. So I have to give them props for that.
Thank you. And I also appreciate you talked about like sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And that gap of not knowing can be detrimental, right, to our overall wellness. So thank you for highlighting that. So my next question is to Dr. Richmond, Dr. Luana Richmond. And I'd like to ask you, what are some key important areas for our community that you think needs to be addressed on a county level? And how could our county supervisors, what they can do to address it, and from the work that you do? And you are on mute, sis. So let me see if you.
All right, good luck. So first of all, I want to thank Monica for sharing her background, because I felt like I heard, as a writer, the hero's journey, and then I just came back from Comic-Con, and so I was hearing the origin story of one of my favorite superheroes. Mm-hmm. But in terms of things to think about, I have to, keep my Afrofuturist hat on and share that we're in a time right now of, we call it unstick. There's like an unsticking. Some people would call it chaos. We're in a moment that is full and ripe for potential and change. And there are things that are going to happen and decisions that are going to be made that are pivotal and are going to have long-reaching implications. We've got to think about infrastructure. We've got to think about access to things like broadband Wi-Fi service. We've got to think about making sure that, this whole concept of having small villages where people are able to live where they work includes meaningful, well-paying jobs for people in the 4th District, particularly in Southeast San Diego, because we need industry to not just be where people have to get on a bus, a trolley, a Uber, or a shuttle to go all the way to North County or to go to Rancho Bernardo or Scripps Ranch or anywhere out there. We need it closer. We also, looking at the health disparities, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but, one of the things I plan to cover at AfroFutureCon is the need to disrupt the Black maternal morbidity crisis. And so the other part of course is, how can we incentivize the elimination of food deserts? The ability to have access to healthy food, because I think there's a connection between what we have access to eat and what our health is like. The other part is making sure that our neighborhoods are livable and walkable. Like there are air quality concerns that need to be taken into consideration. All of the data is already there. It just needs to be acted upon. And again, I say that, it's a timeliness thing. And that's why I think it's really important that some of the momentum that has been begun in recent years is allowed to continue to accelerate so that we can see development in areas where we didn't have them before. When we look at the delivery of social services and human services, I'll add that, I'm on the board for Alliance San Diego. And one of the things that we're focusing on these days is human dignity, because, there's, when you talk about any particular disadvantaged group, there are always going to be people who are like, well, what about us? But if you look at it through a lens of basic human dignity and everyone having a right to that dignity, it changes the equation, because that's a human right. And I think there are a lot of human rights that need to be addressed, upheld and supported. And then of course, I look at, the businesses in certain corridors. And of course, whatever the county can do to support the work that you began in the realm of arts and culture, I think is really important as well, because especially in this era of AI and chat GPT and virtual reality, it's very important that we remember the things that feed our soul and help us hold on to our humanity. And I think those things are going to become increasingly important as time progresses. We don't notice how much art contributes to our lives, but we can definitely see the difference in someone who has no art in their life.
Yes, I think you touched on like every aspect that all of us do, right? You touched on health with Dr. Afflalo's area. You definitely touched on sustainability, right? And environmental and climate matters of the work that I do. Thank you for mentioning all of that. Art from what Dahan does, and just in general of humanity with Pastor McKinney. So thank you for sharing that. And then I love that our council member pro tem is sitting here taking notes, right? She is just like at work. I mean, it's beautiful. So I want to go ahead and pivot my question now to our two gentlemen, and I'm going to start with Pastor McKinney. If you can like share some of your personal experience being raised out here, knowing the area, and how much this race means to you personally. I know you're speaking on in your own capacity, and also of the importance of why we need to engage. Our community needs to engage on all levels of our local government and the policies and how those policies impact us. If you can kind of share your thoughts as a man of faith, that would be wonderful.
Well, Sister Sonja, I really thank you for this opportunity, and I'm just elated and overwhelmed just being on this panel with all these distinguished guests. Monica is my Spelman sister. I love her dearly, and I am so godly proud of what she has accomplished. And but to get to the question, because I can go off on Monica just and talk about the goodness of Monica for a while. But my experience growing up, of course, my father and mother came to San Diego in the late 50s, and he aligned himself with his childhood pastor, who was Bishop J.A. Blake. And he was with Bishop Blake for a few years before he launched St. Stephen's in 1962. And I was blessed to kind of be masked from all the craziness. I mean, even though it was there, I was masked from it with being exposed to hope and hope in Christ, and knowing, even though we see and are experiencing degradation in the community and in the world, there's always hope in Christ. So I was blessed to have, parents that just instilled that in me. And so, so many stories, so many issues that we experienced all through the years that really cause us to be involved. I remember as a kid, a little kid, I was maybe in the second or third grade, and there was a disparaging difference, and still is today, with the teachers in the community. And I remember my father going to the superintendent at the time, back in the 70s, and asking him, hey, we need to do something about this teaching situation. Our kids are not getting a valuable education. And the superintendent said this out of his mouth. He said, we're not going to waste our good teachers on those kids down there. And he said that with a straight face. But it caused and put a fire in my father and mother to start a Christian school. I'm a product of that Christian school. I went from the 4th grade to the 12th grade, but it was there in the community for years to combat, the disparaging education problems within our community. Not only just but giving them a Christian education. And experiencing that, going through all of that, it allowed me to see the importance of being involved in the policies and the politics of what is going on in our community. Far too long and for too many generations, we've been left out. We've been distracted. The powers that be have distracted us with trinkets and little here and little this here, little money here, little, but not really getting us involved in what in making the decisions and making a difference. There's so many beautiful, smart, intelligent people in our community that have not gotten a chance. And that's why when I see Monica, I got hope. I mean, because she grew up at Bay Vista Apartments, and look at her now. I mean, to be articulate and to have a law degree in Spelman, whoop, whoop, that's my sister's school. And and all of these accolades, she did not let anything stop her. And so many other people, have that opportunity and have that potential. But, maybe some of them didn't have the support system that Monica had, but they still had the drive. But, and so a lot of times their desires, go off track. because they just didn't have the right support group in their presence. So that's why it's so important. Like Dr. Afflalo alluded to, we don't know because we don't know. And a lot of people will, a lot of the powers and the systems that are in place would love to continue to keep us in ignorance so that they can make the decisions, they can do what they want to do, and then give us the leftovers. And then share with us that we should be happy with what we're getting. That slave mentality has not changed much, since the 1800s. We're still living it. We're still experiencing it. But they've become very crafty on how to present it, so that if we're not careful, we'll fall right back into the same traps that we came out of. So with leadership like Monica, we have hope that these truths will be spoken to power. And that's all I got. I know Monica has to go. I don't want to I want to give some time to my brother Dahan, but go Monica, go.
Yes, go Monica, go. And thank you, Pastor McKinney. Yeah, thank you so much for stating and speaking truth, right? To the powers that be. I mean, that's something that Monica is so familiar with, and that's why we love her and her willingness to listen to us, even if she doesn't agree right away. She's willing to listen and to hear the needs, right, on all sides. So, Brother Dahan, last but certainly not least, I would love to hear your thoughts as you frame this in general from your heart, what it means, you as a community leader in Southeast San Diego, from Southeast San Diego. And also, I would love to hear your feelings and thoughts, even from an arts and cultural perspective, right? As you sit on a commission, you and Monica work together to get the arts district, the Black Arts District down there in City District 4. So what does support for the arts and culture look like from the County of San Diego? And what does this race look like for our community? And why is it so important to you?
Thank you for that question. And I know Monica has to go, but I just want to say real quick, ditto on what you guys all said. I love your sense of urgency, Dr. Afflalo, because I didn't even know you had that warrior in you. I'm coming to see you. But Monica has said, this is my legacy. This is my city. And she lives here. I went to Texas. I graduated from Texas College, historically Black college. They teach us at Black colleges to have a sense of pride and to have a sense of purpose. And so to come back to San Diego, where I was born, and all of that had disappeared, I'm a native. We were, every single one of our parks had music and bands. Ocean View Park, you couldn't stick a dime between two people. My father was the artistic director on that stage. My grandfather was one of the artistic directors for the Harlem of the West, the hotel, what was the hotel? They had a place called the Creole Palace that when folks wasn't dealing with Harlem no more because the mafia had taken over, people were coming to San Diego. So we just have this legacy and this rich heritage that has been wiped away. I despise the term Southeast because for as long as I've been a commissioner, and people don't know I'm a commissioner because sometimes I dress like this and around the corner, they'll be like, oh, those people, what do they expect? It's Southeast. It's the pit of San Diego. And I've been here long enough to see, even though sometimes we don't want to admit it, when we say Southeast, we don't necessarily mean something positive. And until we're honest, with each other, we really can't make the changes that need to be made. Monica was bold enough to stand up and say, no, we do need a Black arts and culture district. We do need to be able to celebrate our identity. When people come to visit us from Chicago and places where they're used to Black people, we should have some place Black to take them and showcase us. We're just as important as anyone else. We pay taxes just like anyone else. And for them to brainwash us and think because we live in the South, this is not even the Southeastern, because we live in the 4th district, they made us think it's in the Southeastern. But my grandfather wouldn't even allow us to say that. Southeast is anything adjacent to downtown San Diego, where the servants that serve the people who lived in downtown live. That's not who we are. That's not what we're about. We're some of the most prolific when it comes to educators, athletes, and anything and everything else, bar none. We might not be better than everybody, but ain't nobody better than us. And it's time for us to showcase that. And I'm so happy that we asked for 8, but they gave us 9 blocks for us to name, define, create, and speak for ourselves boldly and proudly, and teach our children that they're the best that God has to offer. Quit holding your head down and saying, I'm Southeast, I'll beat you up. I'm a gangbanger. I'm not supposed to know how to read. I'm not supposed to know how to do this because I'm Southeast. They're literally teaching our children not to comprehend. Read and not comprehend and just claim Southeast. I'm an enemy against that. I work for the county of San Diego through Jewish Family Services. So I see up close the disparities. I see our children being trafficked. I see our children being taken from young mothers because they had a drug addiction. I literally see it every day. And there's no sense of urgency, in my opinion, in San Diego to change it. With Monica in the seat for the county, it gives us an opportunity, someplace to go. If 10 Black people walk in the county and say, we ain't having this no more, things change. Mm-hmm. George Stevens would call them a crack and jump over a counter, things change. Why we are so complacent and have no sense of urgency for our health, for our environment. We're the children of God, the calling of the Most High. There should be more righteous indignation. I think she brings that. So I can rock with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this. So Monica, I know our time has been well spent. We covered a lot of things. There is something I wanted to talk about, but we may not have time to talk about your experience approving budgets for our public safety. But what I will like to do is just give you an opportunity to share anything that you want to share about your race, because this is your race for the people. And so I just want to give this opportunity for you to address anything you want to say.
So first of all, let me say this was very, very encouraging for me. I have 22 days, or it's really 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm tired.
Right.
But this has been very encouraging for my spirit. So thank you. I am being attacked in this race. I will say that. Let me just say, I'm being attacked in this race. The Police Officers Association, the City of San Diego, which has no jurisdiction over the county, has decided to jump in. The deputy district attorneys, also calling themselves San Diegans Against Crime, have decided to jump in, and they have created a pact against Monica. Okay, so I say that in all the context of what you all are talking about. The bottom line is this. This system relies on somebody is supposed to be on the bottom, and they believe that is us. And every time we see programmatic changes that produce good results, that give our people an opportunity, that reduce crime, they don't want it. I was just in a meeting this week, or maybe it was last week, about the surveillance ordinance and the cameras and everything. I'm not against the cameras, but don't come to this council and lie to me about these things, okay? Your report says that we have reduced crime in District 4 communities, in neighborhoods, okay? But you still have way more cameras in our neighborhoods. Why? And what I said was, it doesn't matter how our community works together with police, with each other to keep crime down. You still want to say that District 4 has the most crime when it doesn't, And so all of this is very, very true. And the attacks are real because I have been fighting against those narratives and also trying to get funding to be placed in places that work for our people. That's what I've been trying to do. But every year I've approved a police budget. I've approved a budget for retention of police. I've approved a budget for a home ownership program so police could live where they work. I've approved these things on the dais, but there's still, it's a lie to say that I have defunded the police. That is not the truth. That's a lie. And so we understand when we look at these things, how real this is and what a big opportunity it is, because if it weren't, if I wasn't doing anything, I wouldn't get that type of opposition. Now, there's always room for improvement. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a fighter, and I'm a fighter. I believe in the power of the pen. Okay, I only scream when I need to, but if you don't get act right, I will. But I'm gonna give you an opportunity, and we're going to change the law and the policy to make it work for the people. And so this is real. This is a big deal for all of us, right? And we need allies to come along with us, and to say Monica can represent us all and does represent us all. And so that's the back and forth that we're having. But I'm still prayerful. God is in this, and we will be successful no matter what. Because if by chance we don't get this, which we will, I will still be sitting in a city council district 4 seat with a lot more fire.
Exactly. So just for the record,
Yes.
you actually approve the police force budget
Yes, I have voted on a budget for 5 years.
for 5 years.
And I was first Black woman chair of the Budget and Government Efficiency Committee in the city of San Diego. Also we voted for $50 million in overtime on top of a $538 million budget this year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It wasn't the police and public safety budget around like $2 billion, and then it increased to 88 million or something like that.
But that includes emergency services,
Right.
fire, and everything. The police alone is about 598.
Right, but yeah, so the total
Million.
safety was, and it actually went up, I believe, by like 4.55% for, I think it was like the 2023 fiscal budget.
Yes,
I like the
2024.
I like the fact that you said we need more than policing. That policing is not the answer to the problem. I was so proud that you said that.
We have to. We're talking about arts and culture. We're talking about health.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about infrastructure. We're talking about
Sustainability.
housing.
Yeah.
We're talking about, Pastor McKinney talked about a community of support. Every time we get on that dais and talk about people who are living on the street, and I'm looking at these numbers, 24% of the unhoused population is Black, and we only 5-6% of the population. And I think about the fact that if I did not have my family, I don't know where I would be. We need a lot right now. Like Dr. Richmond said, we're at this critical point where the decisions that we make now are going to impact generations to come. And we need to step out of the box and think, which is what Black people have always done, and where the solutions end up working for everybody. So that's it. I'm sorry, I went over.
No, you did. Thank you for your time. And your last is that you govern for everyone, regardless of party affiliation, regardless of demographics, socioeconomic status. I know Dr. Afflalo mentioned it too, but you govern for everyone.
Absolutely. That is my commitment. It's a big district, very diverse.
And she has the most experience from the bottom up. Nobody has the experience she has dealing with the county for services.
Okay. All right. So give us your last call, Councilmember Pro Tem Montgomery Steppe.
Monica for sandiego.com. We are walking, we are talking, we are texting. We need to get this vote out. I believe that at least 17,000 people have already voted. So now it's about dealing with people who haven't decided yet. And so we need to talk to them so we can get those votes. But this is a competitive race, very competitive.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we here at Sun, we will be covering this race with even more people, more topics. And so thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our just amazing community leaders of Pillar of Strength. Thank you for your voices. And here at Sustainable Urban Network. We will address these issues going forward, and we will send you the link and make sure that you guys subscribe. Thank you all. Thank you.
God bless you.